Hello and welcome to The Frame. We begin this week with the City Council's meeting this past Monday, October 20th, as local legislators began to consider the adoption of the Massachusetts Municipal Opt-in Specialized Building Code, an optional mandate that would provide the framework for newly developed buildings in the city to be built with infrastructure for eco-friendly utilities in mind. Pre-wiring for future electrification, solar installations, and other equipment would be primed within new buildings, should Framingham join the 55 other cities and towns in Massachusetts who have adopted the code. Proponents pointed to a number of potential benefits during the opening of the topic's public hearing this week. To name a few: carbon emission reduction, a cleaner atmosphere, tax credits and state grants, along with consumer protection. However, some community members have expressed some hesitation. District 1 City Councilor Christine Long said she and her colleagues have to consider the potential loss of local control for developments, while the Framingham Economic Development Corporation urged that the City Council defer adopting the code at this point. While the group recognized its potential merits, they recommended that a local study look into how its adaptation in other communities has gone. They also suggested that city officials investigate how these strategies can be implemented while ensuring that Framingham remains a viable spot for commercial and industrial developments. Rick McKenna is the executive director of the EDC.
This deliberate approach would allow Framingham to adopt the code with confidence, armed with real-world data and a clear understanding of local impacts.
Most public comments on Monday were in favor of Framingham opting into the specialized code, though. Chair of the city's Sustainability Committee, Erin Ellsworth, was one of the multiple people who called upon the council to do so as a way of committing to the community's future and to lead the charge in sustainable development.
Every month we delay, we permit new buildings that lock in fossil fuel use for decades. We cannot reach our net zero by 2050 commitment if our new construction keeps adding emissions.
The City Council, which can adopt this code with a simple majority vote after 2 readings, will be picking up the topic again during their meeting on November 18th. We continue now with our preview of the upcoming election here in Framingham. Over the last few months, we've had spotlights on the race for mayor, along with the contested races for City Council and School Committee. There's one more question that will be put before local voters, though: whether or not they approve of a litany of proposed changes to the Home Rule Charter, which is essentially Framingham's version of the Constitution. A yes vote will enact the recommended changes that were finalized in June of 2024 by the city's Charter Review Committee, which worked for a year to solicit community feedback and develop their proposed changes. Among those proposals include the addition of an additional budget meeting in the winter to provide residents with an opportunity to help shape fiscal priorities, restricting elected officials from holding another elected office in order to get more residents involved in local government, and the creation of a Chief Climate and Sustainability Officer to watch over the entire municipal government's environmental practices. Adam Blummer, who acted as the chair of that Charter Review Committee, joined us in our studio to talk about that work and the group's proposals, which he said are meant to focus on government transparency, community engagement, and municipal efficiency.
We just said, tell us what you think structurally is working, and tell us things that you think could work better, and then tell us things that you just are not clear on. And those 3 questions really form the backbone of our work.
Our full conversation with Blummer can be found on Access Framingham's cable and YouTube channels. City Clerk Lisa Ferguson and her team are hard at work leading up to the local election in order to ensure that every vote is counted. As about 1,000 people in Framingham have requested a mail-in ballot to date, Ferguson told The Frame that ongoing work includes testing ballot machines and outreach to residents so that they know what they have to do to get their votes registered.
My election staff is very small. I only have 2 people in the election department for a city this large, but they are very good at what they do.
With mail-in ballots, Ferguson is advising residents to either deliver them directly to the city clerk's office or to drop them off at one of the official drop boxes located at the Memorial Building or at the McAuliffe Library as soon as possible. She explained that sending those ballots in the mail will not guarantee that they arrive at her office in time to be counted. Now, Saturday, October 25th is the deadline to register to vote this weekend. You could do so in person until 5 o'clock that afternoon or online until 11:59 that night. The deadline to apply for a vote-by-mail ballot is 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 28th. Additionally, registration for absentee voting will be available until noon on Monday, November 3rd. No matter how they make their voice heard, Ferguson told us that it's rewarding to see residents take part in the civic process, adding that every vote in a municipal election counts.
You know, everyone always is talking about how important it is for the bigger state elections, the presidential election, but it all starts at the local level, so it is very important.
More local journalism can be found on our website, www.theframe.news. There, you can find full written articles on the top stories we cover every week, alongside feature pieces we've completed across the community and a calendar filled with upcoming local events. Be sure to subscribe to our email newsletter as well, so that you're always up to date with Framingham News in Focus. A few noteworthy items for you now as the back half of October continues. First, a drug take-back event will occur this Saturday, the 25th. Expired, unused, and unwanted prescription drugs will be collected from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Memorial Building's parking lot. From there, the medication will be safely disposed of. Also, Framingham's Park Run at Farm Pond, the new local initiative that we covered on Frame by Frame a few weeks back, is hosting a Halloween-themed event. Attendees are encouraged to run, walk, or watch a free 5K in costume on Saturday the 1st at 9 a.m. Soon after Halloween, clocks will be going back an hour. Daylight saving time ends next Sunday, November 2nd at 2 a.m. State safety officials advise that the time to change clocks is also an ideal time to check smoke and carbon monoxide alarms in your home. Fresh batteries should be inserted if applicable. If those alarms are out of date, they should be replaced entirely. And finally, a preview of this week's Frame by Frame segment, which was produced entirely in Portuguese. Leandro Alves, known as Leandrinho Goiaba, is one of the most notable members of Framingham's Brazilian community. The founder of Radio Insuperável took some of the time in his day to speak with us about what's brought him to this point, his childhood in Brazil, his life in the States, what's driven him to the media industry, and more. Let's take a look.
E a pessoa, e o pior de tudo para mim, o pior de tudo é aquela pessoa que tem o seguinte pensamento: se eu sofri,
todo mundo tem que
ele
sofrer.
também tem que sofrer.
Isso é uma coisa
Para
bem...
mim isso é a coisa mais absurda do mundo. Porque por que a Insuperável existe hoje? Porque a gente está aqui justamente para facilitar a vida das pessoas.
Que era o objetivo quase que contrário da maioria das pessoas da comunidade brasileira antes.
Se eu passei por isso,
ninguém mais precisa passar.
Ninguém precisa, gente. Gente, esse aqui é o caminho.
Verdade.
Entendeu?
Legal.
Muitas coisas que eu não fiz no passado, eu não fiz por falta de informação. Então, hoje, na Insuperável, o que eu posso fazer, o que a nossa equipe pode fazer, o que todo mundo pode fazer é facilitar a vida das pessoas. Falar, cara, essa não é a forma certa.
As always, that full frame-by-frame piece can be found on our website, theframe.news, as well as our social media pages. For more local news, follow @FrameNews_ on Instagram and search for The Frame on Facebook. Subscribe to Access Framingham's YouTube channel and hit the bell icon there to be notified whenever we upload new episodes. Follow us on Spotify, too. We upload full frame episodes for you to listen to or watch there. That will do it for this week's Framingham News in Focus. On behalf of our entire team, thanks for joining us. My name is Brendan Fitzpatrick. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.